Have you ever caught yourself murmuring words of encouragement to your favorite Philly fig while you're watering it? Or, maybe you've seen a neighbor having a full-blown conversation with their prized rose bushes. I mean, it might sound like a strange, kind of whimsical habit, right? But science suggests there could actually be a lot more to this phenomenon than you might initially think. Okay, let's dive into this and unpack exactly what's going on when we decide to chat with our houseplants in this explainer.
Which brings us to a really fun ultimate question. Does your fern actually care what you say to it? When you offer a sweet compliment to your trailing pothos or profusely apologize for missing a watering day, is any of that information actually being received? Well, we're going to explore the surprising truth behind this, and I promise you the actual biological reality of this daily interaction is going to completely change the way you look at your indoor jungle.
Let's start with Section 1, the myth of plant talk. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the fascinating gap between what we think is happening during these very one-sided conversations and what the biological reality actually is on a cellular level. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. As humans, we process communication using our ears and our incredibly complex brains, right? We decode language, we pick up on tone, we understand intent. But plants, they experience the world entirely differently. The absolute truth is that plants literally cannot hear words the way we do. No ears, and definitely no brain to process vocabulary. Instead, they rely on their leaves and stems to detect physical forces in their environment. So they don't hear a conversation, they feel an event. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, how plants experience sound. So if they don't have ears to hear us, how on earth does a brainless, earless organism interact with all the noise in the world around it? Well, think about sound waves. They're essentially just physical vibrations in the air, created by voices or noise. When you stand over your favorite houseplant and speak, your voice is actually doing physical work. It's projecting physical sound wave vibrations outward. Those waves travel through the air and they literally gently shake the physical structure of the plant. We're talking its leaves, its stems, even the soil. It's basically a mechanical touch delivered right through the air. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific data behind those vibrations. Researchers have actually pinpointed that sound frequencies between 100 and 500 hertz represent a kind of acoustic sweet spot for plants. When sound waves hit this precise frequency range, the plant's physical structure responds in a very measurable way. And get this, it turns out that the normal pitch and cadence of a human speaking voice often lands right smack in this optimal frequency band. How cool is that? But what exactly happens when a plant is exposed to this 100 to 500 hertz sweet spot? The benefits are honestly pretty remarkable. These specific vibrations can stimulate plant cells on a microscopic level. Studies actually suggest that they encourage robust root growth, and that means the plant can anchor itself better and soak up way more nutrients. Plus, these gentle vibrations lead to increased enzyme activity. Essentially, the physical shaking from these sound waves can switch on specific genes involved in growth and actively improve how the plant handles stress. It's like a tiny, invisible massage for their cells. Let's move on to Section 3, evidence from the greenhouse. Let's ground this whimsical concept in some real-world hard agricultural science. Take this famous experiment conducted by the Royal Horticultural Society. They set up a truly brilliant study using tomato plants. They took one group of tomatoes and just exposed them to regular human voices. Then they took a control group and left them in absolute dead silence. The results? Absolutely fascinating. The tomato plants exposed to the human voices actually grew slightly taller than the silent ones. Now, we don't know if the researchers were showering them with compliments or just reading them the morning news, but it worked. So the crucial point is that it's the vibration, not the vocabulary. The tomato plants in that study didn't grow taller because they felt emotionally supported by English words. Scientists determined it was the gentle physical vibrations caused by the sound waves of the voices that gave them that slight growth bump. You could literally be reading them a dictionary or reciting your grocery list. The plant is entirely indifferent to the actual words, but it is highly responsive to the physical frequencies those words create. And, this concept totally extends beyond just the human voice, too. If we compare different types of audio environments, a very clear pattern emerges. Soft classical music and natural sounds generate these helpful, gentle vibrations that land well within that healthy frequency range we talked about earlier. Plants tend to perform so much better in these environments. But on the flip side, loud, high-volume music creates violent, heavy sound waves. Rather than stimulating the plant, this actually acts as a massive stressor, negatively impacting the plant's ability to thrive. So maybe skip the heavy metal for your ferns. Which brings us to Section 4, the real secret to growth. While vibrations certainly play a scientifically proven role, there is this totally surprising psychological twist when it comes to human behavior. It turns out people who talk to plants also tends to care for them better. This is the ultimate correlation. Think about it. If you're the type of person who takes 5 minutes out of your busy morning just to chat with your monstera, you are naturally paying much closer attention to its overall health. Because you're physically close to it, right? You're interacting with it. You're far more likely to notice if the soil is bone dry, if a leaf is turning yellow, or if some pesky bug has moved in. That heightened level of attention is a massive reason why these plants often grow so much healthier. Let's move to Mortic Hamus and see how this builds on the foundational rules of botany. Ultimately, while the gentle sound of your voice might provide a small biological bump through physical vibration, it really pales in comparison to absolute biological necessities: proper light, adequate water, essential nutrients, the correct temperature, and quality soil. These remain infinitely more important than your daily conversation. Without these foundational elements in place, no amount of talking, singing, or Mozart is going to keep your plant alive. So we've learned that plants certainly don't understand a word of our language, but they do intimately feel and respond to the physical vibrations our voices create. And of course, they hugely benefit from our close attention and dedicated care. Knowing this incredible truth about the invisible physical connection between your voice and your plant's leaves, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How will you change your own plant care routine moving forward? Will you curate a special frequency playlist for your greenhouse? Or maybe just make sure to check their soil while you tell them all about your day? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy growing.